Valeria Marquez, a beauty influencer in Mexico, shot dead while streaming live on TikTok. She was just 23 years old.
Gunshots rang out on the usually quiet street of Padre Hurtado on October 25, 2023. By the time the smoke finally cleared, a 24-year-old TikToker was found lifeless. She was known online as Narco Queen, a name that once drew millions, now reduced to a headline and a cold silence. But who would do something so devastating, and why? Join us as we take you through the 10 times TikTokers messed with the wrong people. Number 10. Valeria Marquez.
A shocking moment on TikTok. A social media influencer was shot to death during a live stream at a beauty salon in Mexico.
A model, an influencer, and an owner of a beauty salon, 23-year-old Valeria Marquez wasn't just a famous TikToker. She was a businesswoman in the making. With nearly 200,000 followers across TikTok and Instagram, Valeria was living the life that many dreamed of. But behind the rising fame and attention was a slow feeling of unease that crawled up her spine as days counted to her untimely demise.
Valeria Marquez was known for her videos about beauty and makeup. Marquez was killed on Tuesday in the beauty salon.
On May 13, 2025, a casual live stream on TikTok turned disastrous when a masked man walked in and pulled the trigger. A gunshot to the chest and ultimately 2 gunshots to the head. And within a blink of an eye, right in front of her followers, Valeria was gone, and her screen went blank forever. At first, many thought it was a prank, but within minutes, fans began to realize that this wasn't a funny stunt, but an actual influencer being killed live and direct. And what followed was total chaos. News circulated fast. Videos were shared, and speculations rose.
The institutional responsibility for creating conditions for women to be murdered with impunity.
With one being, why was she killed? And most importantly, who could have wanted her dead? The truth is, just before her death, Valeria was in a serious relationship with Ricardo Ruiz Velasco, a high-ranking leader within the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, also known as CJNG, one of Mexico's most powerful and violent criminal organizations. A man who went by the street name RR. He had the money, yet he got angry anytime she received expensive gifts from her fans. But many believe this was not the case.
I want to say, like, objectively just an unattractive guy, especially for a girl she's very beautiful. She had a very striking look.
For a man who claimed to love you, won't go to such an extreme extent to erase you. No one would ever know the cause of her death. But many suspected him, simply because of his brutal nature. RR has been linked to several high-profile cases, including the 2012 murder of Daisy Ferrer Arenas and the murder of Juan Luis Lagunas. Did Valeria ignore these signs, or was she madly in love with a ticking time bomb? That day before her demise, Marquez expressed concern about her safety, and during the live stream, she was definitely agitated. Soon after her death, tributes of flowers were placed outside Marquez's beauty salon, and her burial was filled with heartfelt friends and family.
From the priest's blessing of her casket to the soft applause of attendees, offering one last honor to her life.
However, not long after her burial, people noticed that her tomb was vandalized. Who could have done this? No one knows. Whoever it was did harbor deep hatred towards her. Shortly after her killing, her TikTok account was closed. As for the government, they ruled it as femicide.
Now Mexico's President, Claudia Sheinbaum, vowing justice.
And her case remains open and still under investigation. Would we ever get an answer? We don't know. But one thing's for sure. No matter how long, justice will prevail. Number 9. Justin Guzman and Marco Sinan. Shots were heard just after 5 p.m. on a quiet Tuesday in a Houston parking garage. There on the floor was 30-year-old Marine veteran Anthony Sanders, lying bleeding beside his car with gut-shot wounds as life slowly slipped out of him.
A man fatally shot during a parking garage dispute at the Galleria.
And just inside the vehicle were his 10-month-old baby and his fiancée as they sat there frozen in shock. And the killer? It was none other than 22-year-old TikTok influencer Justin Guzman. It was another day in Galleria Mall when Justin and his 23-year-old friend Marquez walked up to Sanders' fiancée and allegedly insulted her.
And instead of just letting it go, one of them allegedly called her a stupid, ugly B-word.
Sanders, hearing about this, decided to confront them, and soon things quickly got out of hand, and they started throwing words at each other. But Sanders, trying to keep things peaceful, acted like a true gentleman. He decided to walk away instead of getting into a fight. He got into his car with his family and tried to leave. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Filled with anger and wanting to prove a point, Justin followed Sanders into the garage. Entering into his car, he planned to make a statement and wanted to have the upper hand. Just as Sanders was about to drive away from the garage, Justin cut him off, brake-checked him, and blocked his car.
And here's the thing, the rounds, according to reports, were one-sided, not from Anthony's side, but allegedly from Justin himself.
Confused and totally annoyed by the young man's difficulty, Sanders stepped out with hopes of confronting Justin. But what he didn't know was that that was going to be the last time he'd be alive, because what followed was 10 rounds of gunshot. The bullets were fired without a professional aim, but a few still hit their target. Sanders had no time to react, no chance to run or protect himself, and just like that, he was gone. But what followed was a true act of cruelty. Justin later posted the story on TikTok. He wasn't just a bystander with a phone, he was an influencer. Before his main account was banned, Guzman had over 130,000 followers, which he gathered by posting lip-sync and dance videos.
It was Justin, Marco, and another man whose name hasn't been publicly released.
Even after the incident, he was still active online, building another following on a backup account. But soon, the law caught up. Guzman turned himself in to Houston police the following Monday. Both he and Sinan were arrested and charged with murder.
Justin Guzman, a second suspect, is expected to be in court tonight here in this building behind me for a probable cause hearing.
Now, instead of TikTok fame, they're facing life behind bars. Anthony Sanders was a Marine, a protector, a father, and in the end, he died doing exactly what he'd always done, standing up for the people he loved.
Sanders' parents, both retired from the Army, say their son was killed while protecting his family.
Number 8. Rajaswari Apahu. It all started like so many influencers' dreams do, but this time, it wasn't about the fame and the endorsement. It was all about making a difference and an impact in the world. And that's exactly what Rajaswari Apahu wanted to do before she got hit with the bitter reality of the internet.
We are a multiracial country, and we warmly welcome everyone to Malaysia, okay?
It first started with honest criticism about skincare packages. People loved her for her honesty, and Esha wasn't afraid of sharing the truth. Things soon worked in her favor when she began getting massive followers on TikTok after she helped raise awareness about a cosmetic product that included mercury, leading to its banning. At first, the comments weren't anything out of the ordinary. Opinions began flying, people agreeing and arguing, but it was just the normal, uncomplicated stuff. That, however, soon turned ugly. An Islamic teacher known as Zamri Vinoth began sharing clips from a TikTok life.
Islamic preacher Zamri Vinoth has been remanded for 2 days starting today.
And this time, he changed the narrative. A short clip was extracted showing a guest who was wanted by Malaysian authorities for allegedly insulting the country's royal institutions. But what really caught Zamri's attention was that the guest had said some negative things about Islam. That was all Zamri needed. He began pushing the video forward, urging people to file police reports against Isha. But what no one truly understood was why he was so hostile to her. And soon after, she was arrested. And in those 3 days in remand, she was afraid, worried, and most importantly, wondering, how did it come to this? She was released soon after, but instead the harassment doubled, getting much worse. Threats were given, and write-ups so devastating were sent to her. Messages about and messages about killing her were what stood out the most for her. Filled with fear, Rajeswari went to the police to file a report, doing everything to protect herself. But no one was listening, and those who did never really cared. Left with no choice, Esha made the hard choice of ending it all by herself. On July 5th, 2024, with no form of hope or reassurance, Esha took her life, bringing an end to the torment. The news soon circulated, and it was devastating. The world soon forgot the cries for help, but remembered how sincere and truthful she was. This just goes to show that behind every viral video and trending topic and famous influencer is a real person going through life, so a little love and reassurance would go a long way. Number 7. Narco Queen. People were going about their normal day in Padre Hurtado, a quiet town in Chile, when everything changed in a second. Out of nowhere, several gunshots rang out, and a 24-year-old famous TikToker, known as Narco Queen, was gunned down in broad daylight. Her life was taken, fast, quick, and brutal, and just like that, she was gone. First, who was the Narco Queen? And how did a popular TikTok beauty influencer end up executed on the street? Her real name wasn't Narco Queen, but Sabrina Duran. Her story to fame began in May 2021, when she started uploading videos on TikTok. But Narco Queen wasn't your normal average TikToker. She was a drug dealer who started gathering fans because of her dances and videos behind bars. And soon, these videos began to trend, and her followers began to grow. But one thing she couldn't do was stay out of trouble, despite the little fame she was gathering. At the start of 2023, Sabrina, along with her 2 brothers, was arrested on suspicion of supplying, distributing, and trafficking cannabis, cocaine, MDMA, and magic mushrooms. The charges were high, but yet, instead of fear, she took her time documenting her days on her phone, either dancing or just talking to herself. But on October 23, 2023, a quick trip to get her nails done turned into a deadly nightmare. While sitting in her car, 2 hitmen suddenly opened fire. A chilling video later showed Sabrina lying wounded in the street, trying to get up. But one of the gunmen came right up to her and fired again, ending her fight. The killers then stole her car to escape, and it was found destroyed later. She was left bleeding and alone. Sadly, she didn't survive. So why did this happen? Police believe it was a message from a rival drug gang, a deadly warning for crossing the wrong people. Sabrina's story is a reminder. When you mess with the wrong crowd, it can cost you everything. Number 6. Salwan Momika. An Iraqi refugee and a former member of the Popular Mobilization Forces, Salwan Momika didn't plan to play safe when he literally did something that left many speechless. In the summer of 2023, during the Eid al-Adha, Momika took out a Quran and began burning the pages of the Holy Quran, first in Stockholm and then in Malmö.
And he would do things like this outside of the mosque on the greatest holiday of the year for Muslims, Eid al-Adha.
This wasn't a form of free speech or a human right. This was a form of rebellion and an insult to Islam itself. And worse, Momika had it live streamed, claiming he was trying to advocate for the ban of the Quran. And Muslims did not take it lightly. Threats began, with some promising to kill and end his life. Many, however, wondered why he wasn't shot dead the moment he carried out the first atrocities.
I don't need to fear anyone, but I fear God. And I don't know why the law is like that. Like, how can they let him do this?
It turns out that he had police protection and legal permission.
In terms of the public order and safety, but in regards of opinion of the applicant.
Things got worse for him when the Swedish Migration Agency decided that Momika was to be expelled from the country in 2024. But due to threats against him in Iraq, The expulsion could not be exercised, so he received a new temporary residence permit until April 2024. But through all these, Monica never stopped. His voice grew louder, and his online followers increased. These, however, gave him the impression that he was untouchable, but that belief was soon cut short. On January 29, 2025, during a live stream, wanting to take a quick break, Momika told his viewers that he was going out for a quick smoke. But what followed was deafening. A gunshot was fired, and soon 4 more followed, and the killers weren't vigilantes or assassins, but police officers.
The murder of a man awaiting trial raises pressing questions. Who ordered this killing?
Momika was discovered with several gunshot wounds to the head and transported to a hospital.
Like the very fact that people would even think that somebody getting shot in an apartment is a Sharia-style execution.
Where authorities confirmed his death the following morning. His death sent shockwaves through the internet, with different people having mixed reactions. Protests were raised, and some Islamic organizations could not help but celebrate his death. This wasn't a celebration of life, but a celebration of an enemy wiped out. To many people, Momika got what he deserved, because what makes someone hate another religion so much that they'd burn its holy book? In the end, Salwan Momika's actions caused deep anger and division. What started as a personal protest turned into something much bigger, leading to outrage, threats, legal battles, and ultimately, his death. Number 5. Jenny El Hassan. With over 80,000 followers on TikTok and a great fashion sense that made her stand out, 32-year-old Jenny El Hassan owned her beauty with confidence. But that beauty would soon be taken because she messed with the wrong person. During a quiet live stream, a fake account demanded to know where she was and why her sunglasses were on at 11 p.m. at night. Finding the question very strange, Jenny ignored them completely. But then chaos erupted. 3 masked men jumped out of a black car before one of them allegedly threw acid onto her, and the group fled. She suffered burns to her right eye, forehead, and neck, and was rushed to Royal North Shore Hospital.
See the burn marks on my neck, the burn marks across my head, and my eyesight.
But luckily, she got there in time, and there were no permanent injuries that would deform her. When addressing her fans, Jenny has no one to thank but God. Her daughter wasn't with her, and as luck may have it, the sunglasses she was wearing saved her. But then, who wanted her disfigured, and why? One thing Jenny has always tried to keep quiet about was that her sister Aliyah was formerly married to convicted drug smuggler Stephen Elmire, once regarded as one of Sydney's most feared underworld figures.
I'm making sure everything's public, so if you want to come for me, come for me.
And wanting not to address it, Jenny kept quiet and left it for the police officers to investigate. But many think that her attack was due to jealous content creators or an online troll. Whatever she did to warrant such a brutal attack, we will never know. Number 4. Xavier Fogga. Cameras on, a TikTok match began. But viewers didn't know that the 23-year-old TikTok influencer was going to be shot right there live and direct. On December 7th, 2024, Xavier Fogga, popularly known as Naya Gang, started a live stream with another man. With over 200,000 followers on TikTok, Xavier was quite famous for his lyrical freestyle and controversial clashes with fellow TikTokers on social media. And thousands tuned in that night to watch another banter. Then it happened. Gunshots were heard. With a reflex motion, both Xavier and the other man ran for their lives. But sadly, Xavier was later found lifeless and was shot multiple times in the head, as they expressed.
And you say you are killer.
Never tell her that.
While the other man reportedly escaped unharmed. The internet turned into total chaos. Many fans couldn't believe that he was gone. But yet no one knew why he was killed or who he offended. Xavier was known to live a life filled with no violence, yet he was killed in cold blood. But authorities believe that he was an unsuspecting victim caught between a gang feud, and some thought his death was due to jealous people over Fogga's rise in popularity. But also, there was this sickening feeling that his death could be as a result of an ongoing serial killing of TikTokers because not long ago. Number 3. Fedra Gaxiola. The world of social media was shaken after the tragic death of popular influencer and fitness model Fedra Gaxiola. She was known online for her beauty, workouts, and brand deals. Fedra was loved by thousands. But on the morning of Thursday, November 5th, 2024, her life was cut short in a shocking attack. Just outside Hardcore Fitness Gym in Tijuana, Mexico, around 8:35 a.m., someone drove up to her black Mercedes-Benz and opened fire through the windows before speeding off. The shooters drove off immediately, leaving Fedra fighting for her dear life. She was soon rushed to the hospital, but sadly, she didn't survive. This loss was more than what people could comprehend. Then the questions began. Many of her fans wanted to know what had happened. The authorities believe it was a planned attack. Witnesses who were there, the shooter fled in a gray Chevrolet HHR, and while some said there might have been more than one person, investigators are focused on a single suspect who likely knew exactly who they were targeting. Fedra wasn't just any influencer. She was a rising star in fitness and fashion, with over 225,000 TikTok followers and more than 140,000 on Instagram. She had just worked with a local brand, Fleur Sport Clothing, and often shared glimpses of her personal life and pain. However, this wasn't the first time her life was threatened. The first time Fedra was targeted was in 2011 in Sinaloa, a northern Mexico with a rising number of drug cartels. During a short ride with her then-boyfriend, they were gunned down while in his BMW. Fedra luckily escaped, but her boyfriend did not survive the attack. Then in 2018, her partner was shot dead right before her eyes, along with her young son. The case goes unsolved, and the authorities went quiet about it, closing that page. In August 2024, Fedra also went on social media claiming she was a victim of domestic violence. The 24-year-old stated that her ex-boyfriend, former Tijuana Municipal Police Director Hector Villegas, had physically assaulted her. She went live, recording her boyfriend and publicly accusing him. She ended up taking it down, and the complaint vanished. But just days before her death, one of Villegas's bodyguards had approached her. Could this be her killer? Well, all evidence so far points to him. You cannot humiliate a man in authority and be expected to go scot-free. Officially, there's no direct evidence linking him to her death, and the authorities don't have a great history of finding justice. No arrest, no suspect, and the case was dead. Number 2. Keano Watson. Keano Popsy. Watson was just 23, a bright young man who had big dreams. He'd just finished university and just got his degree in international relations and psychology. After all those sleepless nights and years spent in school, long exams, and the stress, he finally made it through. With joy in his heart, he sent his mom a screenshot of the confirmation. "I'm done with UWI," he said. But this happiness was soon cut short by a devastating event. With nothing left to do, and with free time he hadn't gotten in years, Watson stepped outside with plans to clear his head. He's been having a difficult night sleeping, and the best remedy was just to relax himself. And what other way to do that than to open TikTok? Soon enough, he started a live, and just moments later, gunshots were heard. Before anybody had the time to understand what was happening, Popsy was on the ground, shot right there on live video. People watching in the stream assumed it was a prank, but when minutes passed, a sickening feeling settled. They just watched a man get killed live on TikTok. News began to circulate, everyone shocked by his death. His live stream began to go viral for all the wrong reasons. This should have been a memory of joy, but now it was tainted with tears. But what didn't make sense was the fact that Watson had a clean history. He wasn't in a gang or on the streets, yet despite his upstanding character, it still wasn't enough to protect him. Investigation started immediately. He had big dreams of becoming someone great in the future, with plans already underway. And when it was time for him to begin, death came knocking, and death took him. The motive behind his death remains a mystery. Was his death intentional, or was it one of mistaken identity? We will never know. Number 1. Marlon Samuels. On the cold night of December 20th, 2024, a few days before Christmas, just after 10 p.m., Marlon Samuels had just finished one of his Instagram lives, but he had no idea that would be his last time going live online. For many who don't know Marlon, he was a big-time TikTok influencer with thousands of followers who loved him for his fashion sense, lively vibe, and jovial nature. And one thing everyone was looking forward to was his 24th birthday, which was going to be the very next day. But disaster struck. Seconds after signing off from his live stream, Marlon was just on his way to his car when a gunshot rang out on North Lane in Montego Bay, Jamaica. And the young TikToker was dead. But his killing didn't feel random.
Following the murder of a popular TikTok content creator, the deceased is 23-year-old Marlon Samuels.
Just a few weeks ago, Xavier Fogga, another famous Jamaican TikToker, was shot. Then speculations began to rise. Could this by any chance be a killing spree? Or could Marlon have been in the bad book of a local gang or someone who wanted him out of the limelight? Days later, police were able to track down some suspects that might be related to Marlon's death. But what followed was a shootout. 3 suspects were killed, and authorities assumed that one of the suspects might have been the one to gun down Marlon. Fans were sad, and a day that was supposed to be the celebration of another year was filled with mourning for him. Thanks for watching, and see you later.